the select board meeting to order at, let's call it 6:20, let's make it 9 because the other one was 8. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 23rd, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 23rd, 2020, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I vote in the affirmative, the motion passes. So, additions and deletions, we need to add under new business, town meeting lunch, or under old business, town meeting lunch, because we did discuss that. And then under new business, first class liquor license.
I have one.
Okay?
Under highway, roadside mowing.
Okay, anything else? Alrighty. Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order and take members of the public first. So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So, Ms. Reilly.
No.
Hello.
So I have a few properties on my list. The first one we don't really need to talk about because the gentleman is having a problem paying the penalty, and it was to do with an address error. I didn't have the right address when it came to me. I somehow found a way to get in touch with him through email using the internet, and he eventually sent a check, but he was avoiding paying the penalty, and in all reality, I can't take it away, and nor can you, so it really has to go through the Board of Abatement. So I will tell him that, and he's going to have to send a formal letter requesting to have a Board of Abatement meeting if he wants to take that route. So that is how that's going to go for that parcel. The next three are some high dollar delinquent amounts that have very old, some of them are almost 10 years old in terms of delinquent balances. The first one is the DeFelice property, which it took a lot of work to finally get that one to tax sale, and nobody came to the tax sale. It has significant IRS liens on it, and that's, people avoid it for that, I assume. I just don't know what the town is wanting to do with this. It's leaving a big balance on the delinquent list, and I don't know where to go from here. I mean, I've gone down all avenues that I can, and I don't know if you have any suggestions as to what we should do here. And that's sort of not the same situation, but the next two are similar situations where I brought the Kopasinski and Jewett to you before. Those two are a little different in the fact that there's no heirs, there's nobody coming to, you have, when it goes to tax sale, you have to be able to give people notice, and we have nobody to give notice to, and nobody's owning up to the properties. So these balances are just sitting here, and to me it's frustrating, but.
Well, and again, there's not really anything that this board can do. We can't make those go away. That would be a discussion again for the Board of Abatement. But given the fact that the last two properties on there are both tied up in some manner of probate, the original owner is dead. Right? You're talking about either reopening a probate somewhere else or establishing a probate, and yeah, every time we get into these, we seem to get into real serious trouble, like we did with Lisa Johnson. And I'm just a little bit concerned.
But what is the alternative?
It can sit there and continue to do nothing, and sooner or later it will become abandoned property. It's not hurting the town right now.
What happens after it becomes abandoned property?
Then the town can sell it. I don't know what
Is that certain?
I don't know what how that statutory applies, but I do know that sooner or later it's going to be considered abandoned. I mean, we had a piece out in West Townsend. It was part of, it seemed to have gotten mixed up in the tax maps that we sold as abandoned. That nobody claimed. I don't remember who bought it.
Galbraith?
Yes,
We got 9 years on this one,
right.
so
Again,
how does that process work?
I would assume that an attorney would have to tell you how long something would have to go before it would go into abandonment.
Okay.
I mean, you made every due diligence to try to find the errors, not errors, the heirs of the property of the original owner, and not being able to find them, then technically it's been abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how long it has to be abandoned before the town could actually take it over.
All right. So I'm in the process of another tax sale right now, so when I talk with them, I'll just ask them that
Ask that question.
I think I have before, and I'm pretty sure they did say 10 years, but I don't know if it's not just gonna happen. I'm sure there's gonna be
some,
fees associated with getting it to that point.
probably, because it would be sold like that other piece of property was on a quitclaim deed, as opposed to a research deed. In other words, you may or may not have clear title
Right.
to this property, which is what we did with that piece with, and that wasn't Calvert, was it?
Oh,
Yeah,
Brattleboro?
I think it was. Okay, which is the way that piece of property was purchased, that abandoned piece.
Well, this one, there's only a year left, so I guess at this point, we better try that avenue then with Kopasinski.
And I said that was strange because again, he died in California, which makes it really hard to track down. Do you know what happened with Jewett? Is that local?
It is, well, his wife or was in Brattleboro, I thought, but I think I did finally get a hold of her and she wanted nothing to do with it.
Well, I would run it by the attorneys just to see how long it would take to constitute abandoned property. And then what'll happen is when it stays on the rolls like this, it's continuing to add the taxes each year, so that the board, when that comes up as an abandoned piece of property, can be made whole, knowing how much money was actually owed on it. So we kind of have to keep that in the background, just so we know how much the town has invested in the property.
Yep.
Okay, but, and DeFelice, all I could do is wish you luck on that one. Because maybe some slick lawyer at some point in time will decide to come in and take on the IRS.
Well, somebody has purchased a parcel that does have this, and he seems to have found ways to
Really? To work with them?
work with them, so I hope somebody else has that gumption, but until then, I guess it just stays where it is.
That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
And like I said, to those other two, if you run them by the attorneys when you do the tax sale, just see how long it is. But we do need to keep that amount continuing to build, so that when it finally lands here, they will know how much they need to get back to make the town whole.
Okay.
Okay, and as far as that first one goes, again, just a quick letter, which you've already done repeatedly, but just tell him, it has to go through a formal process of abatement for us to be able, or for the town to be able to consider removing it, and there is no guarantee that will happen.
Yeah, I don't know how much clearer I can be, but if he doesn't do it, it's just gonna
Well,
sit
it doesn't
there.
even have to be anything fancy, just a note to the town clerk, requesting a Board of Abatement hearing over the confusion on the address and the penalties. That's all it needs to say. And then there'll be an abatement meeting and it'll go from there.
Right. Okay.
Okay? Anything else for us?
Don't
No?
think so.
Well, have a good time in the heat.
Thanks. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's not get all this mixed up. All right, then moving back to the agenda, the warrants, wherever they ended up.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 1 out of the general fund in the amount of $1,326.94.
Is there a second? For second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 1 in the amount of $1,326.94 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2 out of the highway fund in the amount of $197.94.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 2 in the amount of $197.94 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 3 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $51.28.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant number 3 in the amount of $51.28 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Okay, so then moving on to the reports, town trucks already posted weight limits?
Yes, I spoke with Montpelier, and municipal vehicles are exempt.
Oh, okay, we know what you're talking about, but you might just clue Rob in on that, because he wasn't here.
At last Thursday's meeting, Irv was here, and he questioned the weight of the new Western Star, fully loaded with material, with a front plow and a wing on it, and felt that we were overweight for the registered weight of the vehicle. Well, there is no registered weight of the vehicle. Anything for municipal is left blank in the box, and we are exempt from any weight limits.
Okay, and then you wanted to add roadside mowing.
So I received from HP Fairfield the equipment schedule, slots available for roadside mowing. There are 2 changes from last year. One is the fee, which increased by $100 per week. And the second is, when we rented in the past, we rented for 3 weeks, but technically we rented for 120 hours. If we ever put more than 120 hours on the meter, we were charged an hourly fee for the machine. They no longer do that. There's no restrictions on hours anymore.
Okay.
So the new rate of $3,300 per week, it's gonna take us 120 hours to mow the town. I could do that in 2 weeks. I could do 60 hours a week, splitting shifts with my guys, and we can go from a 3-week rental now to a 2-week rental, because we're not limited with hours. So if the board decides to go ahead and rent the machine again this year, I would recommend 2 weeks in August, and with HP Fairfield.
So do you want to make a motion to that effect?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to make a motion that we rent the roadside mowing machine from HP Fairfield for a 2-week rental at a rate of $3,300 per week.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? No? Then hearing none, all those in favor of renting a mower from Fairfield for $3,300 per week for a term of 2 weeks, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So you've already gone over with the guys as far as vacation schedules and whatnot, so that you're okay with the timing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. All right, anything else from the highway?
I didn't mention it on Thursday's meeting, but we did complete the fire truck project. That went well once we were able to get all the correct parts. And I'd like to mention, about 6 months ago, I received a phone call from the one and only resident on Stronghold that her street sign had come up missing. I did have a spare, so I did replace it. She called me late last week, and said the sign was gone again. I went upstairs, I said I probably don't have another one, so it won't be replaced right away. And just by chance, I get a phone call from the Newfane Highway Department telling me that they found 2 of our road signs. And I asked where they were, and they were in Fitzpatrick's pit in Newfane. So Jeremy ran down there after work one day last week, and we got our 2 signs back.
Okay.
The second one was Simpson Brook, which I now know where that one goes.
Okay.
High School.
Huh?
Reminds me of high school.
Yeah. So those aren't easy to get off those posts. Anyway, so is that then it for the highway suit?
Yes.
Okay. There is no counter report from the town clerk. It's just end of the month. The treasurer.
Your sweep account, you have $915,257.54. The checking account is $30,000 even.
Okay, any questions? Then moving to correspondence, we received a memo from the Town of Linden Select Board. And it says, "Dear colleagues, we would like to respectfully communicate reports we've received from numerous drivers that travel up and down Windham Hill Road regularly, specifically regarding the last 1.5 miles to Route 30. Reports involve serious icing conditions caused by water spilling out of the ditches and onto across the roadway and numerous significant potholes / deteriorated asphalt areas. We understand how challenging this section of road is to maintain and do not want to make it more difficult, but also wanted to make sure you were aware that there is a significant amount of driver safety concern. Sincerely, the Wyndham Select Board." So,
Well, I think anybody who travels that road is fully aware of the issues. The road is in terrible condition. The ditches need to be cleaned, culverts need to be replaced. The icing not only is because of water coming out of the ditches, but bleed outs in the middle of the road coming out through cracked asphalt. And as it runs down the road during the day, it freezes at night. And the weather cycles that we've been in with a lot of rain and freezing rain has not helped at all. We fully understand. We have repaired several potholes in the last 2 to 3 weeks. We will continue with that. Billy does extra runs in the morning to make sure that the roads are salted before morning traffic. And that's all we can do until this summer. We're gonna have to do the ditching, we're gonna have to change culverts, and we're gonna have to put in some under drains. And then in another year or so, we could talk about even paving it. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we can do that.
okay. Then, never mind. Okay, so moving on, then town meeting lunch, we talked about last week. I believe Carla did make contact with the elementary school, and the 4th and 5th grade class, I guess, the parents are not interested in doing that this year. I believe she was sent on to the school club to see if they might be interested. Did you hear back from them?
I did, and they would be interested, but they already have a fundraiser coming up at that time. But if we would like to keep them in mind for future years, they would be very willing to do so.
So then basically where you are right now is we need to decide. There is, I think, $1,000 in the budget. You've got the sheet.
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's $1,000 in the budget for town meeting lunch.
$1,000.
So somebody would need to make a motion that we contact, let's see, who's done it? Harmonyville Store has catered it. Who else has done it?
I think it's just been Harmonyville
Was
recently.
it just Harmonyville?
And then the school took over. Last 2 years.
No, I guess Riverbend was, that was actually the election, come to think of it. So, yeah, I mean, we could certainly, we talk to the people at down at Harmonyville Store to see if they're interested in catering it again this year. It usually comes in at over the $1,000 when we have to have it catered. But if that's what somebody wants to make a motion to that effect, then we can send Carla on a road trip.
Taste testing?
Should we see if Riverbend wants to,
We could certainly ask Riverbend.
see what they say?
We could certainly ask Riverbend and Harmonyville, although I have no idea how many people this year.
I know.
I mean, it was usually,
Should we ask for just like finger sandwiches and snacks?
usually what it is, Harmonyville usually does wraps or sandwiches and then a couple of cold salads, cookies for dessert, And I guess it's bottled water, or maybe we do I'm not sure who does bottled water. But yeah, it's usually just salads, cold salads, and some kind of a wrapper or sandwich. And then a cookie for dessert, that type of thing.
And preferably not everyone with mayonnaise, please.
Is something with mustard?
Well, just plain.
Oh, okay. Okay,
No
so,
condiments on.
so do we want to make a motion to have Carla explore those two entities, just to see? So somebody make that motion.
So I move that we send Carla on a road trip to explore catering through either Riverbend or the Harmonville store
For town
for
meeting.
town meeting day, lunch.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, we need a price is what we're actually asking you to explore.
Right.
Oh, less than.
No, there's no lesson, just find out what they would do for approximately, what do you want to say, 150 people?
I think that's right.
I mean, the town meeting is usually,
Didn't they used to be potlucks back in the day?
oh, that was long ago. I want to say, the early voting is, in the morning, is usually about 130 ballots.
School board goes first or not this year?
There is no
This year.
school board,
No school board this year.
there's no school board at all,
There's
so
no school
yeah,
board at all.
which is going to impact the number of people there.
So maybe 100?
I'd rather err on the side of caution. So yes, roughly 150 people. So all those in favor of sending Carla on a road trip to explore the possibilities of either Riverbend or Harmonyville Store catering town meeting lunch, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. So you'll have to come back and let everybody know what the, answer is? Okay. Then moving on to new business, the time clocks. You could start because you start.
Well, I can speak for the time clock at the town garage. The date no longer works, so it does have accurate day and time, but not month, and I can't change it, so the month is blank.
Okay, and what are we actually, what's the issue here?
Our hands do not work on the time clock, but it actually does punch the correct date.
It's always 6:30,
Yeah.
but it punches the correct time.
Okay, so the question is, do we want to actually take a look at replacing those?
I would think so.
And I think Carla's already looked at the possibility of the digitals. Is that what you were looking at?
I've explored the idea of digitals, which are comparable in price. Actually, and some of them are even less than the manual or these clocks that we currently have. I think it's just kind of, what do we really need out of them? Just something that keeps the month, day, time, and just knowing that we have to reset them if the power goes out.
Well, the only thing is, are the digitals, are they internet capable? Is that how they're working? How are they setting their time?
There's some that are internet capable that
See,
you
we
can
we couldn't do that at the garage.
They don't need to be.
No,
I think it's
they
just
really
as long as
don't.
it's punching it, stamping it. That's all we need.
So do you want to have Carla come back with some potential prices
Please.
on replacements for the time clocks and what would be involved? I mean, they've all got electricity because that's been run into, so the electricity's already in there. But yeah, if you could come back with some estimates as to what it would cost to replace the two. Maybe it'll stop making that awful clicking noise too.
Digitals won't do that, yeah.
That was the only complaint when I was looking at reviews on these ones.
Oh, that it clicks, it ticks. You don't pay any attention to it half the time anymore. Okay, so we'll get that, and so you want to put that on the next agenda once you get the information back on that. So then moving on, we added liquor license. I've got a first-class liquor license application for a West River Community Project. This is for the internal building, to be able to serve beer and wine inside the building.
Yep.
And then I also have an outside consumption permit for use during their farmer's market, when they have that area in the back.
And the pizza.
Yeah. So I would entertain, we have to do them in twos, but I would entertain a motion to approve a 2020 liquor license, first class liquor license for, what are they officially? West River Community Project Company.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the first class liquor license for the West River Community Project Company, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so there's the first one. That one. And then I'd
The
entertain.
right-hand side?
Yes. You are. You're very good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
Modest learning curve.
There we go. I'll entertain a motion to approve the outside consumption permit for the West River Community Project as well.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the outside consumption permit for the West River Community Project, signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Now let's see. Alrighty, so the next regular meeting is scheduled for February 11th at 6:30. And if there's no other business from anybody, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 6:55. So moved.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.